If you are hoping to stay home with your baby, but are just not sure how to make it work to go from two incomes to one, this episode is for you. Hey, lady. Welcome to the Postpartum on Purpose podcast. If we haven't met, my name is Annemarie. I'm wife to James and mom to 5 beautiful kids, ages 10 and under, plus 1 miscarried baby. Here, we see postpartum from birth all the way through baby's first year of life as a time of grit, growth, and grace. This is episode 101. Hi, lady. I hope you're well. Let's get started with free things as we do. Free things, if you've been around a minute, is mental shorthand for a gentle reminder to myself as well as to you that there is always something to be grateful for. And also that no matter the size of our family or our budget, a beautiful, rich, meaningful life is available to each one of us. Free things this week in no particular order include more produce. There's more sweet corn. I think I talked last week, but we are in the middle of sweet corn season. 3 weeks or so every single summer of just sweet corn for pretty much every supper. And I have been proposed to can it, to preserve it in some way for the future, but honestly, that's just not how we do. It's just not worth it to me. We just eat our brains out with sweet corn until it's gone. And then next year, around this time, we'll repeat it. And that is just working just fine for us. But there is on our table right now salsa from a friend that I picked up today. And I got a text from her a couple days ago and she said, hey, I made banana cake with caramel frosting. Do you want some? When is the answer to that question ever going to be no? It was just incredibly kind and thoughtful. So, of course, I went and picked that up today when we were in town because of the price of gas these days. Unfortunately, you can't just run out anymore for a 25-minute drive to pick up cake. You have to make sure that you're going as part of another errand, which today we were with swim lessons. And then my other free thing, I can't remember if I've said this before, so if I have, just forgive me, bear with me, but flowers. And I don't mean like flowers in a bouquet. I mean flowers in my garden or flowers around my house. Behind my house, there is a field of corn, which is very tall right now. And this is one of the things, in fact, that I really like about our yard, our property, is how enclosed it feels. It just feels cozy to me when the corn is so tall, and maybe that sounds crazy to you, but I also have butted right up against the cornfield, not in their field, still in my grass, but at the very edge of it, a bunch of different daylilies. And I was given these daylilies, a few of them. Now they have proliferated, which is something else that I love. But I received a few of them like not long after we moved into this house, which was 8.5, almost 9 years ago. But now they've grown and they're big and they remind me of all the goofy things from my growing up, of swim lessons, going to swim lessons, because we went to this property. It was a lady's house, but I think she had an Olympic-sized swimming pool in her backyard. It was huge. And she taught swim lessons and had a bunch of helpers and things. But it was on a bluff, her home and her backyard were. And it was just an oasis back there, an oasis of green and then all these different kinds of colors. And so here I am, no bluff in sight, just a flat as flat can be cornfield behind me. But these lilies in different varieties, more varieties than I even got, I thought, like I don't remember getting red and yellow and orange. And yet that's what's grown. So free things this week: produce, salsa, cake, and then just the ability to benefit from somebody else's gift of what were little, like, not roots. I'm not saying it right, but just like, yeah, very, very small lily tubers, maybe, a long time ago. And yet now they've grown and they're beautiful. And then one small change. One small change is a reminder that whatever is difficult, hard, even impossible, seemingly so, or maybe in reality, something really is impossible right now in postpartum, whatever it is now, things change. There's always something that's changing. And my one small change, generally speaking, I emphasize things that are changing in the right direction. But I suppose just to put all of the cards straight face up on the table for you right now, learning what's going on with my thyroid and how to best support it and help it, I am losing hair. So my one small change lately is that I'm losing quite a bit of hair. And I was so proud, so proud early on in postpartum of having very little hair loss, really, relatively speaking. And yet, as part of this thyroid situation that I'm learning to navigate, I'm losing a fair amount of hair. And that leads straight into my daily dose of discomfort which originated a couple of episodes ago now that I've started adding that in as a thing early on in the episodes. Just talking about one small act, a chosen act to help yourself adjust to the uncertainty, lack of control, and discomforts that are part and parcel of the postpartum experience. And that maybe doesn't sound glamorous. I don't suppose glamorous is the right adjective for it, but it helps us to improve our resilience. And I think just our ability as moms to roll and cope with what comes in postpartum and to be a little bit less shocked or horrified by it. Or knocked down. And so my daily dose of discomfort right now is actually to just not look at anything on the internet about hair loss. Like, how can I make it better? What do I need to do about it? When will it go away? How bad? What if it's getting worse? What will I do then? Nope, nothing. And not even to ask for reassurance from my husband that it's going to get better. I'm pretty sure it will. I'm pretty sure it will as things get figured out. But at present, there is the uncertainty of not knowing, and there's the discomfort of, I don't like what's happening. And I'm not in control of it in any direct way. So the daily dose of discomfort lately is just accepting that this is what's going on, and that until things start to change, this is reality. I don't have to like it, but I can accept it for what it is and not react in an anxious way to it, or certainly not perpetuate the tendency to react anxiously. Lady, this episode, my goodness, this episode has been a long time coming and something that I've had conversations with a number of different women about at various times and places. And that's the idea of going from 2 incomes to 1. Now, I'm not here to tell you you should stay home with your baby. That's not my place. That is your discernment with your spouse. But if this is something that you want to do and have been thinking about, but just asking yourself, how is this possible? Like, do people actually do this? Because oftentimes, what do we hear? We hear 1, babies are so expensive. And then 2, we also hear nobody can have a baby nowadays with just 1 income and support a family with just 1 income. And yet look who is going to talk to us about this very topic today. The 2 hosts of Budget Besties, which is a podcast, a financial podcast for women. And they are both trained in the Dave Ramsey method. They are Dave Ramsey-trained coaches. I am so grateful to be able to share their expertise with you. And without further ado, here they go.
We're Shana and Vanessa. We're the Budget Besties, and we're so excited to be on Postpartum on Purpose.
Yes, we're here to talk about the B word, which is talking about budgets.
Yeah, everybody's favorite B word. But actually today, we really want to dive in to, for you ladies that are thinking about going from 2 incomes to 1, because you're going to have a sweet little baby, hopefully, and maybe stay home with that baby. And going from 2 incomes to 1 can be quite the gut check. And there's a lot to think about, and we want to help you with that.
Yeah, because we've gone through this. Both Shane and I have, and we have some personal stories, and we also have, hopefully, some great tips and tricks to help you make that decision for you and your family.
I love my story too. I just want to throw this all out here. So when I wanted to have babies, I got out of the Air Force because I did not want, because if I was going to have babies, I was going to be in Iraq, or my husband was. So that didn't seem like the easiest way to raise babies. It's not impossible. Anyway, so I got out, and then I had a little job on the side, which was great. And I was working overtime, and I know Vanessa probably did the exact same thing. You go until you literally can't go anymore. And so I did that. And then while I was on, I wasn't actually planning to necessarily stay home, but God told me that was what was happening. I was like, so our little change from 2 incomes to 1 was very abrupt and very much a gut check.
For sure. Yeah. I think that those decisions, those conversations, that calling to do that can be really hard. I remember for us, we were both working in retail in the exact same position, making the exact same money. So I was 21 years old, making $60,000 a year. That's really hard to walk away from when you're young. But I had, when I first had my son, my grandmother watched my son for me for 3 months. And then she said, I'm going back to Portugal. And I was like, oh, yeah, I need to be home. I think for us too, it was, I had always envisioned my family being there. My mom and my dad were still working, and then my grandparents were going to Portugal. And my parents and my grandparents raised me. And so I didn't want anybody else to be there for my kid but me. And I think for us, the same thing. It was, this is me. This is on me. I had kids.
Oh, okay, yes.
I had babies to raise my own babies. And so we decided to make the decision, and it was hard. It was really hard to to completely cut our income in half that it was one of the most worth it things we ever did.
Absolutely. I definitely threw a fit because, like Vanessa, I had a really good job and I actually never want to get out of the Air Force. But anyway, that's all to say we went from 2 really good incomes to 1. And then we also moved 6 weeks after I had my first child to the Alaska, to the dungeon tundra of Alaska, which is funny, but it was devastating because we had no money, you guys. We were so broke. And eventually my husband did start making more money and everything, but it was so hard because that was an expensive place to live. Very expensive place to live. And I always, my husband
In
remembers.
solitude.
And so I was in the emotional part. I can come back and talk about the emotional part
Yeah.
of being all alone with the 6-week-old baby. But I remember my husband going TDY to Hawaii. Jerk.
Oh gosh. One extreme to the other.
Yes. And he had no money. Like when he went, everybody else went out to a luau or they did Hawaii things like tours or whatever. And we had no money. So he just stayed in a hotel room. And so I was so mad at him because he was in Hawaii, but I couldn't be mad at him because we didn't have any money for him to do anything.
Yeah.
And that was our life is we really had to make that sacrifice. And we found out real time how much of a sacrifice it was going to be financially. But as we'll talk about later, totally worth it, like Vanessa said.
Yeah, I know when I did the numbers for my husband, he was like, "Are you sure we can do this?" The question of, "Are you sure this is okay? Are you sure we're going to be okay?" We had just bought a house. Thankfully, we bought basically a foreclosure, so we got a wonderful deal on it. But we were the same way. It was okay. Now, what do I need to do to make sure that we can sustain this lifestyle with the one income? And so your job changes, right? So at home, whereas you're working and you're out in the field, and then you come home and it's okay. Now, what is my new job to make sure that we can continue to do this?
Yes. And that's probably why we're best friends and business partners and the Budget Besties, because this is where we got super nerdy and we really started to figure out the numbers and really look at all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And how we can be the best steward of whatever little bit of money we had in the beginning. Now we're a little more bougie, praise God for that. But things were we were more frugal back then.
Oh,
so.
yes. You were the frugal friends.
Yes.
I think that's the podcast.
Yeah.
But we were not that. We were not anymore.
So anyway, we know exactly where you're at with this thought process. We know maybe your significant other is also like Vanessa mentioned, stressed out because now it really is going to be on one set of shoulders to bring home the bacon, as it were. If people eat bacon, I like bacon. But so that it's a whole thing. And it's a whole thing. So that's actually why we love what we do, because the numbers don't lie. And if you can get this stuff down and look at the numbers, that's a problem you can solve. What usually is happening is there's wrecking balls in your brain, like what ifs, and I don't know. And really, the I don't know is very much more scary than looking at the numbers. And so that's really the first step in all of this. Let's actually look at the numbers.
I think that's a good point, because a lot of people will continue with the I don't know. We'll just wing it. We'll make it work. But that is such a huge weight on your shoulders. It is something that keeps you up at night. You talk differently to your spouse with the tension and the stress, and your conversations around money aren't healthy. But if you just sat down and made a budget to look at the numbers, and again, this isn't about shaming you about what's happening. It's literally about taking the trauma out of it that's in your head, all the wrecking balls that are going on because you don't know your numbers. Just looking at the data and saying yes or no, or yes, we're going to make this happen because this is what we want. And this is how we're going to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think about with the data without the drama, I remember crying about this whole decision to my husband, and he's very much not the drama. And it was just do the math. We'll figure it out. And I'm like, what? And so again, we just get it. So really the first thing that you want to do is get the data on paper. And so we want you to start off, like Vanessa said, where do I stand right now? It's not about shaming you. It's about just seeing where things are. You'll be surprised. Maybe you won't be, because you identify with this. How many people just don't know what they cost every month? They don't know their numbers. They have a general idea. They kind of know what comes in and what goes out. But when you look at everything on one piece of paper, and I do mean everything, it's a whole different perspective. And it really does bring a lot to light when you do that.
Yeah. And when you set your budget up, the way we want you to list everything is in 5 simple columns. It's really easy. You're going to list out your income, your minimum debt payments if you have any, all of your monthly bills, and these are things with the due dates, right? So everything from your gym memberships to your Netflix subscriptions to your mortgage, utilities, things like that, all of your monthly bills that are reoccurring. And then your spending section, which is going to be your gas and groceries. That's if you get your nails done, your hair done, you guys go out for date night, all of the spending that happens throughout the month. And then you're going to list your savings. So in those columns, you're going to list out everything that happens with your money throughout the month.
Yep. And so we do want you to start with the 2 income, what's happening right now, so that you really can get a foothold on what the situation is. We're going to get to what the next step is. But the other thing, and so our budget system is very simple, like Vanessa said. The other thing that's different about our budget system is we also want you to think about what you cost in a year. But any budget can write down your bills and your gas and groceries.
Yes, super easy.
That's doable. But what really is a game changer and what's really going to help you as someone going from a 2-income to a 1-income is to look at what you cost in a year. All of those annual quote unquote unexpected expenses, those are the things that usually make you turn to debt or usually blow up your budget, as people say, right? So we're talking about Christmas. We're talking about your annual bills like HOA dues and property taxes, stuff like that. All of these things, we want you to look at what you cost in a year, and we're also going to put that into your monthly budget.
Yeah. So what does that look like when you're taking into account birthdays and anniversaries and holidays and travel and all that into your budget? That just means you're going to take the total annual cost of that and you're going to divide it by 12 and you're going to put it in your budget to go, okay, if I save monthly for this stuff, then I will be able to afford it on a regular basis. So it's not a surprise. You don't go into debt for it, right? It's not your budget went from $3,000 expense this month to $6,000 because it's Christmas and you have so much work going on. We want to make your budget as consistent as possible. You can put in your budget, what you cost in a year, but on a monthly basis, that's going to see your true costs. So then you know how much you are spending.
Yeah. And I think that word consistency, Vanessa, it's like a sexy word for women. I feel
Like straight up.
like you want it to be consistent. What makes money and budgeting and whatever feel awful is the up and down roller coaster, back and forth. I don't know. The consistency that Vanessa's talking about, you can have one number going toward your annual expenses each month, and then your month to month looks the same. And it's very steady. There's less drama. There's less anxiety. There's less spikes of your cortisol or whatever. So that's what we want you to do first, is get that first budget on paper, one piece of paper, all of the things, and then you'll really be able to see where you stand.
I remember having a free call with somebody and she said, I have this HOA fee that's due January every single year and it stresses me out because we just got off of Christmas and I usually go into debt. And it was like $1,200 or something because they live in a wonderful community. And I said, what if you just save $100 a month? And then every January, the money is in a savings account ready to go. And the idea of that never occurred to her. Nobody had told her how to budget annually on a monthly basis. And that really just literally changed her life. And so that's what we're talking about, right? Taking that number, breaking it down and going, I can actually do this. I can pay cash for all this if I break it down on a monthly basis.
Yeah. And so I remember when we did this, right? What we're going to do is tell you what you're going to do now is make a 1-income budget. But our 2-income budget was pretty fun, guys. There was
a lot going on.
When I say a lot going on, we were just spending all of our money. Let's just be honest. We were young and spending all of our money. And so that might be what you might see a lot of in your spending column. We like to have categories. You might have gas and groceries, which when you're young without kids might be a little bit less there, a little bit more in the eating out. Maybe just guessing, but your eating out might be higher. Your spending money might be high. Those are the categories we like. And again, once you have those categories as well, that's also what makes the month very easy, very repetitious, very steady, because you can just say, look, whatever you want to do, we're getting $500 for groceries every month. We're going to figure it out. Yeah. That steadiness to the budget is really the beginning of our whole system that we teach.
I do want to say, when you go to make your budget on the 2-income budget and the 1-income budget, please make your spending section realistic. Okay? Because we have a lot of people that come in and say, oh, I'm a family of 5 or we're a family of 2 or 3 or whatever, maybe you're expanding. But we only have $1,000 a month for groceries. And we think that's cute. That's not going to work. You can't, especially now with the price of groceries, you're going to fail and you're going to say it's the budget's fault, or you're going to say it's you and you can't do this and you're bad with money and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be this whole shaming thing. The reality is that you're just not budgeting the proper amount for the things that you need. So please buffer your spending section so it's realistic and so you can have the money there to buy the things like gas and groceries that are important for you.
They're important, especially the more mouths you have to feed. And the thing is, if you're doing the 2-income budget first, which we're gonna talk about the 1-income budget here in a minute, it's good to be, what's the right word, Vanessa? Not liberal, but we want you to be generous with these numbers. It's so much easier for you to do it when you have money, but it's easier to put more there. And then as you get better to cut back. That actually happens a lot. The other way around, like Vanessa said, you're just going to feel like a failure because I can't believe I can't stick to $200 for all of these people every week to eat. Neither can we. We can't believe it either because it's not possible. So it's easy. It's better, especially if you have that 2-income, if you have a little more wiggle room, start those categories a little more generous, right? A little more money in them. And then you can scale back as you get better at budgeting, especially as you come home and you're able to focus on food and stuff like that a little bit more, and turning all the lights off instead of the electric. You'll be able to do all of that once you're at home, but it's really good to do that first with the 2-income budget.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've made your first budget. Maybe it's the first time you've ever made a budget. It's got both of your incomes on it. It's really bougie, right? Our tagline is we want you to be bougie on a budget, and that means something different for everyone. But right now it is bougie girl. Maybe you're getting your hair done, your nails done. You guys are going out to eat all the time. Maybe there's a lot happening and you're very excited about it, which is wonderful.
We're
love
excited
that
for you.
We're so happy for you. Okay. So now what I want you to do is make a budget on the 1 income. Okay. If you were going to reduce your entire household income and get rid of yours and you're going to have just your husband's, or maybe if you're working and the husband's staying home, it doesn't matter, whatever that is, figure out what this looks like for you and your family.
Yeah, this is what we call a mock budget. And honestly, a mock budget should be the start of all of these big transition conversations that you guys have, or at least that's what we want for you. If somebody wants to move, if somebody wants to get a different job, if you have kids going off to college, a mock budget is a really good place to start this conversation because, as Vanessa said earlier, it's just data. We can look at the numbers and that will help us be less dramatic, and we can use those numbers to make good decisions. Anyway, so this is where you start, is the mock budget. We're going to say what is going to happen. If our best guesstimates on all of these things, the 1 income, what the bills will look like when there's 1 income, how the spending or savings might go up when there's 1 income, but another human in the house, like whatever it is, let's look forward to what that budget's going to be and get it on paper.
And so right now you guys may go out to eat a lot. That's wonderful. But when you're at home, you may not go out to eat as much. So you want to take that eating out category line item and maybe bring it down, and maybe your groceries will increase, right? Maybe you need an extra subscription or so because you are going to be home and you want to watch a couple things and they're cheap, and that's fine. Maybe there are some other expenses. Maybe you guys are traveling a lot, but with you being home, you're not going to travel as much. So that category in your savings bucket, so we talked about for those annual things, so that's going to go down. So you're going to look at all these different things and what you spend money on now, and then I would put them side by side when you're making it, right? When you're making this new one and go, okay, now what is our life going to look like? How is it going to change?
Yeah, it's really important to think about how it's going to change. Vanessa said some of your bills might go down. I have clients that pay parking tolls or
work.
For work, or they have dry cleaning bills or stuff like that. So some of that might change if you're not working outside the home. And then also, like Vanessa said, you need to look at your spending and see how that might change, because if you're home more, maybe you're going to be eating out less, especially not everybody wants to take the brand new baby out to eat. Like, hello. Maybe, like Vanessa was mentioning earlier, maybe we're doing less hair and nails, but maybe you pencil in 1 massage a month because, girl, you're exhausted.
I need it.
Whatever. Just you want to look at that future life for your whole family and put it on paper on purpose.
Yeah. And what we love to say too is this is going to be your version of bougie right now, right? So this 1 income doesn't have to be a Debbie Downer. It can be exciting for you guys. This is a new season of life that you're in. Be excited about making this 1 income budget for you and your family and see what it can do for you. How can you make it to where you are excited to do this? I remember, because I wasn't making any money at home, I had to, in my brain, quote unquote, make money. So I was like, okay, how cheap can the electricity bill be? How much less water can we use? How much less the AC bill? And just all the different things, all the different ways that I felt like I could contribute, as far as even groceries, like how cheap can I make dinner? But also having high quality food, because that was important to us. So it's like a game. You can gamify this for you and your family when you're home to figure out what is your new version of bougie right now.
Yeah. So what you're going to want to do, like Vanessa said, you have those 2 budgets side by side. Let's see, what do I need to bridge the gap? Let's think about that. Now that you have 2 full budgets hopefully done. So maybe you have some credit card debt, and your goal before you go from 2 to 1, because you have maybe a little bit more wiggle room in that 2 income budget, is to pay those off so that your new budget doesn't have that credit card debt minimum payment on it, right? Or maybe your goal is to save up some money to bridge that gap, because maybe you're noticing that there's a few things in the budget, like maybe there's a vacation or something coming up that you're not going to necessarily be able to afford with the 1 income. So you really need to look at those 2 and see, is there anything I can do right now as far as having the 2 income before we get to the point where there's 1 income? And we've had lots of clients that do this. We have had lots of clients sometimes that's why they come, because they know this big change is coming. And so maybe, like we said, they try to pay off debt, or maybe they try to fund some special savings buckets before they go from 2 to 1, right? On purpose.
Yeah, we call this store mode, right? So you're changing what's going on in your life. And so you're like, okay, maybe I'm not paying, Shana said, maybe you can pay off a couple extra credit cards. Some people say, okay, I actually don't want to do that because I want to build up my savings so I can afford this new lifestyle. So as far as bringing down that to the one income. So you just have to really decide what the best decision is for you and your family. But when you're making this one income budget, please don't cut out those saving sections that we talked about, which are your annual bills and some big expenses like Christmas and birthdays and different things that are coming up. Because if you make your one income budget on just bills, debt payments, and gas and groceries, again, that's easy. We want to make sure that your husband or whoever is bringing in the income can afford your life consistently throughout the year, not just on a regular basis. Because when those holidays or travel, when those things come up and you can't afford it, we don't want you to rely on a credit card to be able to do the things that you want.
Yeah. And when Vanessa was saying that, it made me think we started by her husband was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Like looking at the numbers. So this is a great opportunity. We have a free thing that you can download. It's at budgetbesties.com/budget template. It's our system, but it's the free version. And it's a one page. You can download it and just write all of the things that we're talking about. Make two, one for now and one for the future. Show him, put it in the middle of the table for both of you to look at and really start to think about it, because this is where, like I said, yeah, we want you to start the conversation here, but look at the numbers. So if the one income budget shows it's possible, then both of you have to look at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. If it says it's not, then that's the next conversation. How do we get to that spot? If that's what we really want as a couple, what do we need to do? Does somebody need to get a promotion? Does somebody need to do this or that or the other? Well, it's a good conversation piece, and it's the facts. They're not lying. So nobody can be upset. It's just we can look at these numbers and actually have a good conversation.
And I love the idea of having a good conversation, because what you want to do is, a lot of times we're the ones handling the finances or just taking care of it because our husbands are at work. So make the budget, show him the budget, and say, what do you think? And just stop talking. Hey, babe, this is what we make. What do you think? And this is what we would go down to with the one income. Show him. Let him be in on the conversation. Don't make it a parent-child relationship where you're telling him this stuff, but allow him to be involved in it, where you make it, or you guys make it together if you can. Some spouses don't care, which is fine, but just have it there. Allow him to have an opinion. Allow him to see all the numbers, and don't say anything, and just let him formulate what he thinks.
Yeah. And then as you're going forward, understand that the idea is your income will go up regardless. Like Vanessa said, whoever's staying home, whoever's working, this is just the beginning. And usually we're a little younger in our career when we're having children. And so your numbers will go up. So this is just a season. Everything is a season. And Vanessa said, the season that you're in is in the wealth of baby giggles and snuggles. And it may not be actual physical wealth, but your income will go up. And so, you just want to be cognizant of that. Be a good steward now, and everything will continue to work out. And as Vanessa said, also just continue to think strategically about your savings. So as your children need things, maybe you start thinking about how to add the savings into the budget, or add a kid's spending line item into the budget once they're a little older. I think about, we don't necessarily always love the 529, but if that's something you want to do, then as your family grows and as your income grows, then you want to start thinking about putting those into the budget. We're putting college trips in our budget, so we're in a different season right now.
Yeah.
But those things will also start to be stuff that you think about as your children get older. What do we want to save for them as well?
Yeah. I think that this time with your children, child, whoever, is something you're never going to get back. And I remember living on the floor for years. And if there's one piece of advice I think I could give anyone, is just be as present as possible, because, and I'm not going to cry,
We're not crying.
our boys are going to be seniors this year. And this is it for us. Not that this is it, they're never going to come back. This is their last year in school, technically, and them being home. And we're so excited. I'm so excited about their future and what it's going to hold for them. But also so grateful that I took the time to be as present as possible when they were younger, because it does. People tell you, oh, before you know it, they're going to be driving. They weren't lying. That happened, right? So enjoy this time and put the numbers on paper, because it's not drama. It's just data. You'll figure it out. Everyone does. It's going to be great. And we want to assure you that you can do this without debt.
Yeah. And I love that you said on the floor, because we all lived on the floor all together all the time, include with our animals as well. And if that's my advice, be on the floor. Just be on the floor. And you can't be stressed out if you're on the floor with your kids, right? Life is good. Life is very precious. And when we are being as present as possible, when you said that, Vanessa, it reminded me that what we tell people about budgeting, the B word, that nobody really wants to do, we get that. But it really does relieve a lot of the stress and anxiety about money so that you can be present. And this is with any situation. We don't ever want finances to be something adding to a knot in your stomach or to you not being able to sleep well or whatever. That should not be the case. Put your numbers on paper and let that be so that you can be as present as possible. This is going to be a very special time in your life. Finances should not be messing that up. Okay.
Right.
So let's get it on paper. Let's know where we're at and go from there.
Yes. Annemarie, thank you so much for allowing us to come on your podcast and just share our story and hopefully share some tips and tricks for your lovely women. And if there's anything that you want more of from the Budget Besties, go over to Financial Coaching for Women on any podcast platform. We have almost probably by now about 600 episodes by the time this airs and so many free resources for you to help out.